What's up, guys? It's Dr. Murphy, Murphy Medical Associates, and our team at coronatestct.com. Today, we've got a lot of crazy stuff going on. And I want to go over a bunch of that today. But first and foremost, it was only a matter of time before the lawyers entered the fray. That's right. Today on Murphy's Medical Minute, vaccines versus lawyers. They ain't just for variants. All right, guys, so I want to go over a couple of things today. I'm going to get set up here for you right now. Today's date is April 20th. Nope, April 21st, 2021. April 21st, 2021. For those who don't know already, I'm working on a significant documentary detailing the shenanigans at play with the insurance companies and in healthcare, where they collect the money from the employer, they collect the money from the employee, and they don't pay for health care. They have a wild Rube Goldberg machine to give them excuses to not pay for the health care you receive. So what happens? Enter the lawyers. It was only a matter of time. I personally can't comment on our lawsuits that we're having against the insurance companies. Just know that more doctors are doing it. Today, we're going to go over an interesting use of lawyers. What's that? I believe that we're going to see a significant use of lawyers for vaccine refusals. Today we're going to go over that. In addition to that, today we're going to go over the updates with the J&J vaccine and what you need to do if you, like I, received the J&J vaccine to monitor, to watch, to check out. Also today, at the very end of our broadcast, you are going to watch the very first inaugural Yankees Legends Suite Tickets giveaway. That's right. Every week that the Yankees are at home, Murphy's Medical Minute will give away 2 tickets. That's right, 2 tickets to the Yankees game of the week. The Yankees game of the week. That's right. So you stay tuned to Murphy's Medical Minute. You watch, you subscribe, you follow us on Twitter, make some comments, make them useful comments, make them something worthwhile that you can bring to the rest of the viewers. You bring those great comments to us and we'll reward you. That's right. You, the viewer, with 2 tickets to a Yankees game. That's right. So without further ado, it is time to present Murphy's Medical Minute. Let the lawsuits begin. Mandatory vaccinations versus the Equal Employment Opportunity Council. Today's date is April 21st, 2021. And what is this? Well, first off, let's go with who this is for. This is for everyone. Everyone who's been receiving vaccines, people who don't want vaccines, people who believe that people who don't want vaccines should be arrested or pilloried or put in the Iron Maiden, we present to you today the first lawsuit in regards to vaccination. So, as you can see here, approximately 40% of all Marines have turned down the COVID-19 vaccine. And for those of you who have been in the military, I don't know whether you really know this or not. In the military, you really aren't a citizen anymore. You are no longer part of civilian life. You are actually and truly a property of the United States government. And as a property of the United States government, you have certain rights that are enumerated in the Uniformed Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. No longer does civilian court apply to you. The UCMJ applies to you forever and forever as long as you are in that military, including the reserves. UCMJ applies to you. So what's a military member to do if they don't want this crazy vaccine? Well, first off, let's slow down. It's not a crazy vaccine. There are multiple vaccines out there that I've been covering over time that include some serious science and some rigorous testing. In addition, science continues to evolve over the COVID-19 vaccine, as well as the COVID-19 disease. Novel SARS coronavirus infections lead to lots of different outcomes, and we're still trying to figure out what they mean. And we're still trying to figure out how to prognose them. Just today, well, actually yesterday, I had an hour-long consult with a long COVID patient who tested negative via PCR and negative via antibodies, yet is experiencing real symptoms and has a report of an infection. I had infection symptoms, and now here we go. In addition to that, today, I just dealt with a healthcare worker who also has long COVID, who had an infection that was actually pretty severe, but we managed it at home in the early first wave. People don't want long COVID. People don't want short COVID. But people also don't want vaccinations and believe that they can manage to avoid the infection by maintaining some sort of hygiene. Well, it's very tough to do, especially because COVID is airborne. But what I want to tell you right now is 40% of the Marine Corps turned down the vaccination. 40%. That's right. 48,000 Marines have turned down COVID-19 vaccine. Why? I don't know. Because they can, maybe? Because they haven't been educated enough as to the benefits of it? I don't know anyone who's been in the military, but when you get in the military, guess what they do? They give you vaccines. Lots of vaccines, including some that are probably not even FDA approved. They give you a ton of vaccines. And so it's not that they're vaccine averse for vaccines. You'd have to really dig deep here. And what the military.com story publishes, it goes through the facts that these young, healthy Marines believe that they can fend off and fight off COVID-19 vaccine. Now, most of them are not obese, which doesn't put them in the what would they call it, the fat body category of high risk. So they believe they're low risk. So they are refusing this vaccine. Well, vaccine is one of the keys to exit this pandemic. There's no doubt about that. But the safety of these vaccines continues to be in doubt. In doubt. Globally, it's safe. And as we continue to research it, we will find that that's the case, unless you're the person with the vaccine side effects. Also, for my friends in the state of Connecticut, Connecticut lawmakers have passed a bill ending religious exemptions. Now, we're going to review this lawsuit. We're going to review some of the options you have if you don't want to get vaccination, if you don't want to get COVID-19 vaccination. And in the state of Connecticut, the mission is really to protect the citizens. And one of the ways that we protect the citizens is by dealing with vaccine hesitancy. One of the ways we deal with vaccine hesitancy is primary care physicians. You know, on this channel, I have said time and time again, the removal of primary care physicians from direct vaccination was a mistake. It was a service error. It was a service error, hands down. And the best people to deal with vaccine hesitancy are the primary care physicians. Instead, states are now opting a legislative option. They are opting for a legislative option here. And frankly, I'll tell you right now, sorry about that. I'll tell you right now, you'll put it on the airplane mode. Here's the deal. If you want to encourage your citizens to take a vaccine, you need to educate them, not to legislate them. That being said, legislation will forcefully encourage people to get vaccination. There are a whole lot of people that don't want vaccination. There are a whole lot of people that want their religious exemption kept safe and protected. In the state of Connecticut, they believe that public health is more important than religious exemption when it comes to schools. Now, don't get me wrong. Vaccination is required for many things, many things, including meningitis, to protect the students, and it makes a ton of sense. That being said, That being said, fine, you don't want vaccines, then don't come to this college. It's a simple choice. But public school really isn't a choice. Right? This is mandatory education. And so the state of Connecticut voted 90 to 53 to strike down its religious exemption for vaccinations effective the 2022 school year. Let me tell you why that's important. If the FDA has not fully approved the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines by 2022, then we've got ourselves a problem. Then we've got ourselves a real problem and a real pickle. But I believe that the FDA will get their act together in terms of fully approving these vaccines. And if we have fully approved vaccines, I don't think the public is going to have nearly the ability to push back against vaccination for public health. Until that time, what's our future? Lawyers. That's right, lawyers. Why? Because when we look at the studies, we look at the Vanderbilt study and we look at the UK study. In the Vanderbilt study, we found that half of parents would vaccinate their kids. 50%. Wait, what did I just tell you? Yes, the religious exemption in the state of Connecticut will be removed in 2022. But as of now, only 50% of adults in Tennessee would vaccinate their kids. 50%. In addition to that, there was a UK study that said nearly 70% of those who reviewed the vaccines believe that the process was rushed. 62% have safety concerns. That's over half of all adults have safety concerns about the vaccination. And in the UK, 20% of adults believe that children can't get COVID. 20% of adults believe that children can't get COVID. That's insane. But who do we have to blame for that? Well, the politicians that decided to push the big lie, which is children can't get COVID. You can take a look at my long COVID kids video. Just take a look at that video and you can watch it. It's a plague on both houses, both sides, Republican and Democrat, played up the big lie that kids can't get infections. It's totally wrong. And with the B.1.127 virus variant, we see that kids are suffering the most with this wave. In the UK, kids suffer the most through this wave. And now this virus is starting to look like seasonal influenza, where if you go to school, you spread it. And then you spread it to the adults, to the parents of the kids. Barriers to vaccinating children are real. Hesitancy is real. And it's only going to accelerate until the FDA approves these vaccines appropriately and primary care is involved. So let's talk a little bit about this lawsuit. So the first case against mandatory vaccination was filed in New Mexico. This case is an interesting case because it involves a prison guard in the state of New Mexico. Where did we see all sorts of problems and outbreaks and tons of inmates suffering? In prison. So the prisoners were a vulnerable population. So it would make sense, public health-wise and politically and ethically, to protect your vulnerable populations. How do you do that? You vaccinate your vulnerable populations, and that's what we did here in Connecticut. Unfortunately, the independent consultations that we had in New York and Connecticut in regards to our nursing homes really missed the mark in the beginning. They missed the mark. And it leads me to question the independent consultation advice that states like Connecticut and New York got initially. And the second question is, were those people cleared out? Were those people that made the wrong advice and guidance cleared out? And the answer is probably no. Often with adverse reporting and mistakes like this, people, especially in government, don't get cleared out so quick. Although in the state of Connecticut, the director of public health was actually resigned. She actually resigned, and a new one was appointed. The question is, what about the rest of the team that was there? Did they all leave? One has to ask a question. And in New Mexico, where this is going to be very important, did the Department of Public Health make the right decision? Did they make the right decision? And the statement of facts here regarding the vaccination is pretty simple. Pretty simple. You get vaccinated or you get terminated. Now, this prison guard has not been fired yet, but this prison guard is actively suing the state of New Mexico. And, importantly, this prison guard was a former Marine. Now, I don't know if you know much about the Marines, but as a former naval midshipman, and a good friend to many, many, many Marines, I can tell you, they don't mess around. They stand up for what's right. Even if people above them are crooked or inept, the Marine will stand up for what's right. The Marine will always be ready. The Marine will be semper fidelis, and the Marine will stand their ground. The Marine will stand their ground. Well, what's interesting about this case is that the attorney who's taking on this case is doing so pro bono. There's a 40-year veteran attorney who is accepting grassroots donations. Now, the argument is that the state is wishing to protect the vulnerable populations, which make a ton of sense, but they are forcing experimentation on humans. Therefore, a violation of of all sorts of pacts, including Helsinki, and the protection of human subjects, especially vulnerable human subjects. The arena will be in the New Mexican State Court. Then, this attorney hopes to press this all the way to the Supreme Court. However, what's interesting about this attorney is they will only be focused on the state of New Mexico. There's actually a network of attorneys developing a grassroots movement, so to speak. Very similar to what we have for long COVID with the team at Incel DX and the long haulers score.com, as well as the Frontline Critical Care Coalition. Cohorts of physicians standing up for early treatment. We now have cohorts of attorneys standing up for individual employees' liberty to be free of vaccine experimentation. Why is the argument that it's experimental? Because the FDA approved an EUA authorization rather than full FDA approval for the vaccines. So if you were going to refuse vaccination, how would you do it? Step one, stand your ground. As I said, this Marine is pretty used to standing their ground as a prison guard and as a former Marine. And as evidenced by the fact that 40% of all Marines refuse the vaccination, even if it's a minority, it's a pretty large minority of Marines. Second, step two, issue your cease and desist. And so that's what this attorney did. They sent a letter to the employer of the state and said, cease and desist, forcing vaccination upon my client. Three, apply for a restraining order, which she did. It was denied. Now, there's tons of case law here, and if you listen to things like TWIV or you hang around attorneys, they'll tell you the Supreme Court really has decided on these things, that public health is more important than individual liberty, which makes a ton of sense, because otherwise we would have people running around infecting people with HIV or spreading tuberculosis without the ability to isolate them, without the ability to treat them, and this is, if we have infectious diseases run around that can kill a whole swath of people, we got some problems. And so naturally the restraining order was denied. The next step is that attorney Anna Garner here filed a preliminary injunction in New Mexico State Court that will be heard. I believe that preliminary injunction will also be denied. I'm not a lawyer, but I happen to know a little bit about the legal system. And in this case, it's pretty crystal clear that the preliminary injunction will likely be denied. I think it's going to be denied. So that'll then proceed to a full hearing. And that full hearing will probably be denied, which will lead to an appeal, which will lead to the federal Supreme Court. So the liberty to protect oneself from vaccination side effects versus the public health's need for wellness will be on trial soon. It was on trial before, a long, long time ago. It'll be on trial again. The biggest problem with all of this, I believe, is that it's clear that the system for healthcare and the system for public health is broken. These systems are broken, and the lawyers are coming in to clean up the mess. The real question is whether they really will clean up the mess or just make it more confusing. And I don't quite know that. So a little bit of an aside here, if you were going to refuse vaccination for you or your child or via your employment, you need to understand what the exemptions are under the EEOC. One of the exemptions is that if vaccination is unrelated to your job, but they're mandating you to get vaccination, you can refuse. There are ADA exemptions for vaccination, the Americans with Disabilities Act. If you're immunosuppressed, there are a whole list, and you can go on the EEOC website and you'll look for the ADA exemptions for vaccination. The employer must make adequate accommodations. And if you can be adequately accommodated, i.e., I don't want the vaccine, okay, then you can work from home. If the employer has tried to make adequate accommodations and you can work from home and you can do those things, the employer must try to make adequate accommodations. But if you are not able to be accommodated by your employer, they can fire you. They can fire you. Now, the EEOC here has been very reasonable with their efforts to accommodate, and they've really left it in the hands of the business and the state government to try to accommodate. Try to accommodate those people who do not want vaccination while the approval is under emergency use authorization. Now, one of the things I really wanted to also go over, you can see here in this graphic up there, or right there, is that this map is an example of all of the legislation that's been enacted related to school immunizations. Now, the states in dark blue have a religious exemption, and the states in light blue have a personal belief exemption. So the states that don't have that are New York, Maine, West Virginia, Mississippi, and California. It's important that you remember Connecticut will soon remove their religious exemption in 2022. So one of the blue states will turn white. One of the blue states, Connecticut, will turn white. I believe many more states will follow suit because they believe that vaccination is the key to end the pandemic and to quote unquote get back to normal. I think you know here at Murphy's Medical Minute that vaccination is only one of the keys to unlock the chest of normal. One of the keys, not all of them, and that's because variants are going to continue to exist. We need a prophylactic medication. We need an abortive medication. We need an early diagnostic that's available just this week. Direct-to-consumer, Binax Now cards. These are the pregnancy cards are available in Walgreens and CVS that people can go buy on their own. They're in packs of 2 at $25 for 2 tests. $25 for 2 tests. That's cheaper than McKesson will sell them to me. That's cheaper than McKesson will sell those to me, which just again goes to show the inflated costs of buying stuff through healthcare rather than through Amazon. I believe that with those cards, you could test your students and keep them home if they were sick. Keep the students home if they were sick, therefore reducing the need for vaccination. Unfortunately, I'll tell you this. I gave my kids Tylenol when I had to be on call. I gave my kids Tylenol and they went to daycare. They went to daycare years ago. I'd never do that now with COVID-19. But years ago, that happened. And it's a reality that if people can't stay home and take care of their sick kids and make ends meet, they will send their kids to school. So there's going to be a push and a pull here between wealth and health. With the EEOC, they've been pretty crystal clear that they're going to err on the side of health. And what are the vaccine concerns that we're worried about? Well, these are cerebral venous sinus thromboses, or the thrombocytopenia with Pfizer and Moderna, with Moderna arm, or with the Bell's palsy reports, or with whatever reports you can go to. But this one, CVSTs, they're the most deadly reports. And I reviewed that with the Johnson & Johnson and why I stand by Johnson & Johnson today. So, if you've gotten vaccinated and you got vaccinated with the J&J, I'm here to tell you right now, just a reminder. And I think J&J is going to come back online probably in another week. because the incidents are so very low, and it's such a unique situation. That being said, if you got the J&J vaccine and you're 1 to 3 weeks out, you should get a blood count. It's not going to hurt you. You want to look at the platelets. The people who had the bleeding didn't have platelets that were 200, 300, or 400. They had platelets that were 70, 40, or 20. You should talk to your doctor if you have symptoms. What are the symptoms? Simple. Headache, back pain, abdominal pain, muscle aches, shortness of breath. Don't freak out. Remember the statistics. You're more likely to get hit by lightning than have one of these events. Keep a symptom log, and don't try to treat yourself with blood thinners. Be proactive by getting a lab test, but don't treat yourself. One of the big problems I think we have here is that the vaccines are going to be outrun by the variants, and the only way we fix this is by variant surveillance. The only way we fix it is by variant surveillance. How do we do that? Well, this is an article that we published with Yale School of Medicine and Yale School of Public Health and Yale Pathology Lab, where we were able to develop an assay to surveil for the variants. One of the biggest variants here that's crystal clear is the B.1.651, which is the B.1.617, which is the variant in India that's spiking right now. It's a variant in India that's spiking right now. And what's the reminders? Well, guess what? Immune evasion. Immune evasion means vaccine evasion. It means prior infection evasion. So the debate here about vaccination or not is going to continue. It's truly going to continue. And the only way that we're going to fix the refusals and the hesitancy is not through lawsuits. It's going to be through establishing proper trust in our elected officials. The politicians need to clean up their act. As evidenced today by the black eye that the World Health Organization received right here, small-minded cronyism at all levels of government exists. Hiring independent consultants that are not independent, that gin up some gobbledygook in supposedly 7 days that's poorly researched and claiming that they're an independent consultant when they aren't, that's going to be exposed. And in this case, in the Byline Times, they found that the World Health Organization paid independent consultants. All right, time out right there. If you paid the consultant, they're not independent. If you paid the consultant, they're not independent. Done. Full stop. Secondly, the paper, which was published by this independent consultant, included members of the World Health Organization and members who received financing in this article. So obviously it's failed peer review. The conflict of interest were failed to be revealed on the publication. So if you fail to reveal your conflicts of if you fail to reveal your conflicts, you fail peer review. It's just that simple. Conflict of interests must be revealed by all independent consultants, regardless of who or what they're doing. Why? Because there will be no trust in an independent consultant without full exposure of their conflicts of interest. You can go ahead and review, but you have to reveal your conflicts of interest. Otherwise, you have the appearance of external independence without being external. Why? Well, this commission, they denied that COVID-19 was airborne. They denied airborne transmission. Why? Wealth versus health. Wealth versus health. And in this case, this unusual paper denied that COVID-19 was airborne. The Byline Times revealed through whistleblowers that several members of the World Health Organization Committee commissioned a paper, and they have benefited from the contract that was commissioned, and they showed up as co-authors of the paper without declaring the potential conflict of interests. I'm here to tell you right now, myself, if I find out that you are an independent consultant, but you're not really an independent consultant, you're like a nurse practitioner or a paralegal that decides to Google your review and not have true expertise and got paid by the organization without declaring it, that's despicable. That's what Dr. Oz got pilloried in Congress for. And he's still going today. Politicians need to clean up their act. Public figures need to clean up their act globally, nationally, and locally. We know who you are at the local level. And the games that you're played for the interest of public, the games you're playing for the quote unquote interest of public, only to get some scalps or get some kickbacks or get some political favors, they will all be laid bare. And in this case right here with the World Health Organization, this is a big black eye for them. This is a big black eye, and it speaks to the volumes of the concerns we have with airborne denial. Airborne denial, that's right. COVID is airborne. Vaccine hesitancy does exist, and variants will likely escape vaccination, therefore leading to refusal of vaccination, which is going to complicate things, which is going to slow down our keys to normalcy. We need to remember again, vaccination is only one of the keys to unlock the chest of normalcy, because virus going to virus. Virus is going to virus. Science must keep up. With the J&J and the AstraZeneca complications, it's crystal clear, and with the new issues with the mRNA vaccines that are surfacing, the public needs to be reassured. They need full FDA approval of these vaccinations. If they don't get full approval of these vaccinations, lawyers are going to be involved, and they already are. Just now, we begin to see them coalesce. They will be heavily involved in this next phase. Make no mistake. Virus gonna virus, lawyers gonna lawyer. Lawyers gonna lawyer. Every time. And that is just the way that it is. A mix of lawyers and laws and politicians are affecting healthcare. Lawyers, laws, and politicians affecting healthcare. We're no stranger to these things when we see it every day. But one has to really question, where are the primary care physicians here? Where are they? Where are the local physicians who've sworn to take care of their towns, who have said the following: private practice is public health in the community? I know where they are. They're on the sidelines because they don't want to get sued and they don't want to get put in a political imbroglio. And when it comes to vaccinations, they are the key to successful vaccination. Primary care physicians. That's right. Pediatricians, internists, and family practitioners are essential to vaccination. They've been taken and removed from the sideline, and when that continues to happen, guess what's next? Lawsuits. Lawsuits after lawsuits, and I only expect more. That's a memo for today. Okay, I want to thank my viewers of Murphy's Medical Associates. It's 1:04, so I'm a couple minutes late for the drawing. Sorry. But I want to thank my viewers, right? This is, let's see if you can see it here. This is a very nice gift. You can see here, right? All right, so what is that? That's the bear. So I want to tell you what the bear means. The bear means we protect our own with ferocity. If you're a viewer of Murphy's Medical Minute, you're one of our own. Welcome aboard. And so I appreciate our subscribers. I appreciate our viewers so much. I appreciate the comments that they have. And I appreciate them so much that Murphy's Medical Minute has decided to give away every week that the Yankees are at home 2, not 1, but 2 Yankees tickets. That's right, Yankees tickets. And not just any old tickets. Don't get me wrong, I love the bleachers and it's a great place to be. I love the judges' chambers. I think it's a great place to be. But these tickets are for the Legends Suites. These are for the Legends Suites. That's right. Once a week. Fantastic tickets with fantastic food for you and your guests if you watch Murphy's Medical Minute, number one. Number two, if you follow me on Twitter, follow Murphy's Medical Minute on Twitter. Number three, you comment on one of the Murphy's Medical Minute videos. You must do this for each week that we have a drawing. Your old comments don't count for the next week. You gotta have fresh comments, fresh advice, and fresh guidance for me, Murphy. What you want to hear, what you want to see covered. Remember, it's got to be medical questions. I'm not going to talk, well, listen. Voight rehabbing from surgery is kind of medical. Glaber not being able to hit a ball faster than 50 miles an hour. Exit velo of 50 miles an hour, that's not really medical. Sorry, it's just not. So make it medical. That's right, all Yankees fans. You have to make your comments medical. Step one, subscribe on YouTube. Step two, follow me on Twitter. Step three, give me some real comments on one of my YouTube videos that we can sink our teeth into. That's right, we'll sink the old bear teeth right into them, right? And then we'll enter you in our drawing. Today's the first of those drawings. You ready? All right, let's see here. Oh, I gotta put these back in. All right, I'm gonna keep them in. All right, jiggle them about. And the very first winner of Murphy's Medical Minute Yankees Legend Suite tickets for today is Mike C. 2717. Mike C. 2717. If that is your Twitter handle, I'm going to show it up here so you get it. If that is your Twitter handle, you have won 2 tickets. That's right, 2 tickets to the Legends Suites. DM me your email address at Murphy's Minute. DM me your address at Murphy's Medical Minute on Twitter. So that way we can transfer to you those tickets. That's right. You won! Mike C. 2717. Mike C. 2717, you are the winner of this week's Murphy's Medical Minute Legend Suite Yankee ticket giveaway. That's right. Welcome aboard. And to everyone else watching, thanks for entering. Thanks for commenting. We'll do this again next week. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. It's a community here. It's a community where we can complain about the Yankees or we can complain about the virus. Either way, I'm here to give you the leading medical information to keep your body well. And remember, we are all made to be well. That includes going outside, getting sun, and watching our boy Garrett Cole. This is Dr. Murphy, Murphy Medical Associates, and our team at coronatestct.com. Today's date is April 21st, 2021. You just watched Murphy's Medical Minute. With